Raise your hand if you would love to just skip straight to groups and not have to do private clients ever. Yeah, so I just want to say a couple things about that. Number one, private clients are so powerful in terms of helping you allow your body of work to unfold. Helping you what, please? Yeah, and really trust, I heard you, and really trust that what you're providing is valuable, right? To make an offer and then to start to serve and leverage to 10 or 20 or dozens of clients, it takes a certain conviction, it takes this certain actual faith in your system, the faith that only develops from watching people have results. There's a confidence that you can conjure right now to sign up those clients, absolutely. And there's the place where we have to have the conversation around, you don't have to pretend to be anywhere you're not to get those first few clients, all right? To get those first few clients, in my experience, it's all about letting them see your passion rather than making up any sort of fake, credibility that you don't actually have. It's more about letting them sense your passion. It's more about what, please? Passion. And your commitment to them. How many of you have given somebody or a mentor money in your life because you just could feel that they were committed to you? Okay, so that's the thing I want you working on. If you have a hard time committing to your clients, raise your hand if you do. Hard time committing to your clients. You just have a hard time being responsible for them. Come on.
How about a hard time feeling what they're feeling and having their anxiety or their stress, you're the one who's supposed to help them with that?
And that you sometimes take too much responsibility for them. Raise your hand if that's you. Okay.
There it goes.
So my assignment to all of you is to spring clean on taking responsibility. Because it's not yours. And the sooner you can actually unpack the difference between commitment, I'm committed to you, and I'm responsible for you, the sooner you can liberate yourself from that. Because the most powerful statement you can pretty much make in any enrollment conversation, write this down, is to let them know that you are committed to the result that you provide for them. Have you felt the coaches and my team being committed to you going out there and getting clients? Have you felt that at all? We worked, we as an organization, we worked on that specifically because we know when you have that container around you, it helps you succeed. So we've been in team meetings saying, okay, great. So somebody's feeling wobbly that we have a client who's not succeeding. How do we both reach out to that client and get this team member standing in more conviction that our clients can have these results? Right?
Yeah, one of the places to stand in is collaboration with your client, right? When you're equally meeting them where they're at, committing to their next goal with them, you have them holding responsibility with you. When I first started working with Sage, you recommended I imagine a star between the two of us. Now there was a triangle between the two of us, and we were under the star together, as opposed to me being the star above my client, responsible for them. Does that make sense? It takes the relationship out of codependency into one of alliance, and we're an ally for your client.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and have you draw that out on your notes real quick, because this is huge. This is the divine constellation of service. You are connected through the divine. And then, of course, there's all of this love between you. But the real connection is here. Can you feel it? This is the holy triangle of service. So another piece about private clients is they are the solution to your money problems. They are the what, please? Now the trick is you can't see them as that. You have to see them as an amazing human in front of you that you have the opportunity and privilege to transform, to work together to transform their life. But, for those of you who are in any sort of financial strain, one or two private clients paying you $497 a month or $697 a month can change your finances around pretty quickly. Would you agree? Okay. So the other piece about this is that there's just no substitute for that attention that you can give a private client. Content is a dime a dozen. right? There's all kinds of training programs and information overload in the world and on the internet. And when you give someone that pristine level of awareness and attention and intuition that I know all of you do, they are willing to pay for that. They feel it, they want more. That's why discovery sessions are so freaking powerful. The very thing many of you are resisting the most is the very thing that is like the magic that connects you to your potential clients and develops that intimacy that has them say, oh my gosh, why wouldn't I want more of this, right? The other thing about private clients is there's just minimal marketing needed. You know, you can fill up a private coaching practice without having to do a lot of fancy things on Facebook or paid advertising or anything like that. You can have a full practice if you really want to. You can have a full practice in a few months. And then you can take all your private clients and you can offer them group trainings as a way to have that group dynamic. And then what happens to many of our clients is over time, every few months, they move more toward groups and away from private clients. Can you see it? It's an evolution. It's a what, please? Evolution. So don't feel like you have to make some big decision about it right now. Let it be organic. Let yourself evolve.
When I first started, I didn't have any clients. And I saw a bunch of you have your hands up like, I don't have any clients. I like to think of my first dozen clients as paying me to develop my program. As they came to me, I got so curious about what they were struggling with and what they wanted. And if I could meet them, I did. And there was a variety of people who came to me. So I helped them all until I found a trend. And then I leaned into that trend. But as they were coming to me, right, they were like my potential client interview pack that was paying me to serve them. Does that make sense? That changed everything around from like, oh, I have to develop something and give them something. And I mean, I can't tell you how many marketable programs I came up with behind my computer that I never used. My program was developed by those women that came to me specifically.
I love that. Let them pay you to study and allow your body of work to unfold. That is actually like divine, right, universal balance. The universe wants you. Can you feel that? The universe actually wants you to get paid to do this business. I love this spiritual key that the only thing to heal really is this sense of separation. Raise your hand if you've ever been nervous that you won't know how to handle something that comes up in a discovery session. Yeah, right? And raise your hand if you also are aware that during that victim responsible exercise yesterday where you got to tell your story, one of the things that was most healing about that was just having somebody hold the space. Just that presence. Raise your hand if you're aware of that. Can you feel the ridiculousness that goes on in our own precious brains? Do you get that your presence on that discovery session is what matters more than anything? What matters more than anything? Just your presence, your willingness to give somebody half an hour of your precious attention. It's so valuable. And when you make a very clear offer and a call to action on the end of that presence, of that grow conversation that does not have to be all complicated and like prolific, it can be simple, really. I find that oftentimes people hire us after the simplest of conversations, just showing up for them, right? And when you have just a few tools to overlay grow on your presence, you will get to the point where you can, anytime you need a new client, you can talk to a few people, and out of those maybe 3 people, 1 or 2 of them will hire you. That's what our clients experience as they learn to really embrace grow. And the thing about private clients is they just allow you to grow your income quickly. Every year we see women go through our programs and they add an extra $1,500 a month to their income, and then they move up to $2,500, and then they move to $5,000, and then they go back to $4,000 because somebody completed or fired them, which happens. And then they keep moving up the ladder. And here's the other cool thing is that you really get to grow as an entrepreneur when you have those relationships with the clients that you get close with. Because those clients now are so in your heart that when you make any other offer anywhere else in any other discovery session or on any stage, you're actually speaking with those clients in your heart. It's gonna make me cry. Mm-hmm. That's what has people feel you. And that's what has it start to grow and leverage and scale, and dozens of people, and for some of you, hundreds of people in your future, and for some of you, even more than that. So there's a critical mindset shift. This is not about people investing in you. Take a breath into that. This is about people investing in who? Okay, so then marketing just becomes a really simple question. Really simple. Is this program a match for you? Is what I offer a match for where you're at? And then there's no convincing or manipulating that has to happen. Cool, cool? Okay. So just a quick review of the GROW model. G stands for, R stands for, O stands for, and W for, and you have this in your notes.
So we want to give you a little bit more on each of the steps. So prepare to take some notes on this model.
So do you want to talk about opening the session?
Yes, I do. I can tell how I like to do it. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Because I don't have my glasses on right now. One of the things I do at the very beginning of the conversation is I set the container with time. Right? I let people know that we have a certain amount of time that we're going to be speaking, and I make sure that they're okay with that. And I always ask them if it's okay to interrupt to keep on time. Okay?
Ooh, that's a hot tip.
Because as women, we're not taught that interrupting is good or okay. We're supposed to listen and listen and listen and listen. But interrupting is that masculine coming in, like, I'm holding you. I am the ocean, and you are here going to, like, wave up on my shore. And if we start to get flooded and start going off in an opposite direction, I'm going to interrupt you kindly and get us back on track. If you're one of my private clients in ELA, you know I start every conversation like this when we first start. It's very powerful. And it also will help you begin coaching your client right off the bat. Those GROW conversations are a coaching conversation. And when they feel you holding them with that kind of expertise, right there in the first few moments, they're like, there's someone here who's holding, who's in charge, right? Who's got this.
We've had a few women come back and thank us at the end of the program for the 30-minute coaching sessions that they got all year long, because they finally realized, oh my God, I don't have to give my time away. Take a breath into that. Okay. At 30 minutes, you need to know whether this is a potential fit or not. If you're not quite clear that this person might be a great paying client and that they're interested in possibly working with you after 30 minutes, then you are giving away too much of your time. Would you agree? Okay. So that's why I love how Serena opens the session. She establishes that she's the mentor from the start. And she establishes that we're going to take this conversation a certain direction. And if we get off course, is it okay if I interrupt you?
And you can follow that up with a question like, have you ever done this before? Have you ever had a one-on-one coaching session over the phone? Coaching is becoming common, but a lot of women have never done it. And so I watch them relax, like, no, I haven't. Tell me how this goes, right?
And I like to ask people, what have you already done? Who have you worked with in regards to this particular challenge that you might be having? Because that's so helpful, isn't it? What have you already done to support you to build your business? What have you already done to support you to cultivate your intuition? What have you already done to help you really look at this autoimmune disease that you may be struggling with right now? And then to really follow that up with, if there was one thing that you're struggling with the most that I could help you with, what would it be? Because for me, I just feel slimy if I don't deliver some piece of value in these sessions. But I also know that if I deliver more than one or two big morsels of value, I'm just kind of giving away the farm.
So when you start with the G, you're laying into their goals. Good, I'm on the right slide. You really want to bring it down to a tangible level. For many people who are on that half-an-hour discovery session and they're feeling your presence and they're feeling their holding, you might ask them, like, what do they want? And they might just start going, I want the farm, I want the cow, I want the chicken, right? I want to build $1 million business, I want to be on Oprah. And the vision just might bloom, which is fine. It's that enthusiasm that you're holding for them. But what we recommend is you get them tangible in some everyday way about what their goals are. What does it really look like in their everyday life? I like to ask the question sometimes, like when people say, right, I just don't want to worry anymore. I'm so anxious, right? It's a worthy goal. If I didn't worry and I wasn't anxious, my life would be golden. But if you don't dive deep enough into the G at the beginning of the conversation, the wrap up at the end is really challenging.
Yep.
So when they talk about, say they talk about worry and anxiousness, a grounding question would be like, when do you feel most anxious in your day? Right? They might say, it's when my kids come home from school. She can relate. It might be when I'm getting ready in the morning and I'm trying to balance food and my husband and my clients, right?
Yep.
A specific time in the day so that you can wrap it back to an actual tangible experience for them.
Can I borrow that for a second? I just want to remind you guys that you have this Grow handout separate in your binder so that you can follow along with us. Thank you so much, Dr. Jane.
And a lot of times, if your clients are females, you want to get to like what's in it for them, right? We've talked a lot about how women want things for other people. Mm-hmm. They don't want to worry and they don't want to be anxious anymore because it stresses their husband out. They don't want to be worried and anxious anymore because they want to be a good mom, right? So it's just like deferred. If I'm better at this, my family will be happy. So you're going to ask them the big why question. What's in it for you? If you were to change this one, if I could help you with this one thing you're struggling with, and it could impact your life, how would you get out of bed differently in the morning? How would you look at yourself differently in the mirror? What's the indulgent thing that you would do for yourself?
And you've got to work at this.
Yeah.
You have got to work. Have you noticed? When you say, why do you want what you want? Well, I just want my kids to be happy. Yeah, there's other things you want, right? And you've got to actually tell them a little bit about why you're asking the why question. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because they want to understand. They want to understand where you're going. Because the tricky thing about a discovery session is what's going on in their mind. She's going to try to what me something. Right? So I always like to just like be as real and honest as I can from the very beginning. Like, so right now, I'm a mentor, I'm a woman who has business training programs, and you're considering working on your business, potentially with us, potentially somewhere else. I just want to out that can create a wonky dynamic between us that I just want to like throw out the window right now and just be one woman talking to each other, two women talking to each other. Would that be okay? Just like however you say that, like drop the facade. And then I like to just be real and say, here's the thing, if I don't know why you want the thing that you want, if I don't know what you personally and selfishly are gonna get out of building this business, it's tricky for me to actually like get you hooked up to the passion that you will need to walk through some of the challenges of building a business. So like, do you picture yourself traveling around the world? Do you picture yourself having, a private chef coming to your house every day so that you can like do your business from a beautiful home office and somebody bringing you organic food? Like, what is in it for you? Because if there's nothing in it for you, it can be a little tricky for me to help you get successful. And then they go, oh, okay, I get it. And then they want to play the game. Yeah. So it's the same thing for you guys, right? The reason I want to know why you want to be healthy is because I may be asking you to make some changes that are going to be really uncomfortable for you. It's not easy to heal yourself. It's not easy to put different food in your body. It's not easy to go to the store and try to figure out what supplement to take. The very nature of where you're at is having me want to know, what's your big why to get to the other side of this? And can you feel how now you're mentoring them already? Yeah.
And one of the great sentences that Sage just shared, I want to highlight because it just takes the pressure off, is whether you work with me or not, I just want to make sure that you get support with this. That takes the edge off that allergicness to being sold to.
Any questions so far about the big why, the grow? Let's have one. Yeah, hit the mic over here, and you can hit the mic over here if you'd like. Yep, perfect. Take a deep breath, everybody. Nice big exhale. By the way, we're not going to be firing content at you all day. Raise your hand if you already feel full. And raise your hand if you're really glad we're videoing. Yeah! And is it okay to give you a little bit more? Because there's a grow demonstration that we want to do that's so good for you to see in person, and we're about ready to go into a little demo.
So I'm wondering, how do you frame it so they're responding to what you do, what your services are? Because I could say, what do you want? And they're going to start saying, like, all these things that are unrelated to what I provide.
Right. So part of it's listening, right? They want to be heard with their list.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is the interrupting factor, right? You're like, thank you. I hear that you want blah, blah, blah. Who do you serve?
Women in midlife who have put their dreams on hold to support their families. I help them find their, like, spiritual purpose.
Got it. Oh. So here's a great
Hey, Shannon, will you bring me
here's a great
tissue?
reason to niche down, right? Because if you're talking to women about their dreams, you might end up in a conversation like that where they're just talking about everything, right? So to get more specific with them, you might have to interrupt them. You might have to reiterate what is the first dream that you want to accomplish, right? Same like what we did in business with the coaching yesterday when we were talking, like you've got this big business to sell paintings for philanthropy, but what is your first next client? So you might ask them that. Of all the dreams that you mentioned, what's the one you want to live out in the next year?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if they're like, she's like, I don't even know, be like, awesome, I actually would love to work with you on that. Because, there's
I've
some...
had a lot of people that don't know. They're kind
Right?
of all
Yeah.
wishy-washy. And
It's
all
like
right.
the passion
place.
test, right?
Yeah.
We've
And
got
that's
all
what-
these passions. Which one do we do first? Which one's the most important? Which one is the one we can't live without? Or the one that needs to happen so all the rest fall into
Yeah.
place?
Okay.
And, to really get inside their own skin, what's probably keeping her from potentially picking a couple to share with you is that she doesn't want to get it wrong. She doesn't know. She wants to get it right, and she might not even thought about herself for the last 15 years or 20 years because she was raising a family. And, so to just ask the question a different way, if I could wave a magic wand and you could be doing anything with your time next week, would you want to go to the spa? Would you want to be at the library? Like, where would you want to be, And then, she'll laugh and she'll get quiet, but then you've got to stop talking and see what she gives back to you. And then this is that place where you get to be the one that holds up the mirror. You get to do what, please? Hold up the mirror. Right? And I always like to say, so there's a conversation in all of our heads, right? And so what I'm wondering is, what is the conversation in your head right now about what is going on? Like, are you feeling like guilty for having the desire in the first place, or are you not even in touch with it? And just get them talking about that, because that's the thing. That's the thing that you want to be on anyway. The why question is a way in to the thing. It's a way in to their biggest block, right? Because oftentimes, even going into the reality step of grow is not going to necessarily get you there. Yeah. Is that helpful?
That's very
Kiss.
helpful. Thank you.
Mwah. Awesome. What about over here?
Hi, I'm Stephanie. My question is similar. Working with people with chronic conditions,
Get closer to the
I
mic.
find that
Thank
the G is a little bit difficult to start with.
Then don't start there.
So we can start with the R.
Absolutely. Yeah, give you a kiss. Mwah. I was just about to say that. The G and the R are not linear. They're not what, please? Okay, you get to choose whichever one you want to start with. And for a lot of you, your people are going to be more comfortable starting on the R. And I just find for me, it's just more natural to say, so what's up? What's your biggest challenge? And then once we flesh that out, I can say, so awesome. So let's imagine that we were able to get that sorted out for you. In 6 months or a year from now, you're in a completely different relationship to that challenge. What would you want then, right? What would be the thing waiting on the other side for you? And I also really want to remind you, I know that it can sound a little formulaic, but it is very powerful to find an authentic way of getting them in touch with the cost of the problem. With the what? Cost of the problem. And I actually like to say, I actually like to start telling little stories whenever I feel like something's going to sound formulaic. Little stories, Serena's actually helped me really do a great job of this. Little stories during your discovery session, they have to be short. They have to be what, please? Short. Right? It's like here's something that I've been through in relationship to this. I'm wondering if that's similar to you, or, tell me how you can relate to that, right? Like, I know for me, when I first started my business, there was this feeling of if I go like a whole nother year without being able to get paid for what I do, like, I'm going to be devastated. I'm going to have to go back and get another teaching job, working in the system, talking about No Child Left Behind, and like, it's going to be a draining life force. I'm just curious for you, like, where will you be in a year if you don't commit to building this business, right? Say it in a way that's authentic. That's what? Authentic. You can always tie it back to your experience, but it's critical that they get that if they don't do anything, it's a slow, painful death.
And I love your example of the story without too much TMI, right? Because the Grow conversation is really focusing on our clients. So when you do share that bit of story to break open some vulnerability, like I've been there too, make sure you tie it back so the focus returns back to them.
So let's talk about options.
Let's
and
do
this
it.
is the section of the Grow conversation where you do the little thing that we've talked about you doing during the Grow conversation. You know how we've talked about you having like a little thing? Like at the signature talk, you might say, hey, I'd love to have you take me up on a relationship breakthrough session so that I can get you an individualized tool to break through anything that might be holding you back in love. This is the part of the conversation where you're going to actually get them that little individualized tool. So this is not a bait and switch. This is not a what, please? And we have a few suggestions for how you give them that small, short, sort of individualized tool.
So this is really key because, again, this is a place where you can give away the farm. Someone's just like totally confided they've got this issue and they're like, they have these big dreams and we've like feeling into them and we're so empathic and we're like, okay. We're going to handle this. I'm not going to let you get off the phone with this problem, right? I'm going to give you this one tip that has 7 parts. And you do that so thoroughly all the way, and then you're like, oh shit, 30 minutes is up. And you forget to make them an offer to work with you further, okay? So what I like to do is give one hot tip, if I've never done this before. One thing that they could do to shift them towards what they want. One hot tip. And then I ask them how it lands with them. Right? Because one hot tip isn't going to change their life. But if they take that tip or that suggestion and they're like, oh, wow, that's a deep well, I could keep going, then again, you're in conversation with them about something that might work for them. And I want to remind you all, when you were in Grow conversations with us around joining ELA, our one hot tip was to look at your money. Right? You want to make money? Let's look at your money. How much money do you need to make? That was it. We didn't balance your checkbook with you. We didn't look at your tax returns, right? We didn't go down that well. But you notice that one thing, right, can take you really deep into a life change.
It also allows you, I love that, and it also allows you to provide them with a little bit of a structure. A little bit of a what, please? Structure. Because one of your jobs in these conversations is to help them see that it's possible for them, that change is possible, to acknowledge them, to love on them a little bit. Let them know the qualities you see in them. And then ask them if it would be okay to lay out a little plan. A little what, please? Right? And if you're a relationship coach and you've noticed that what they're telling you is that they haven't actually been speaking their truth in relationships, right? Raise your hand if you know any woman that has not spoken her truth in relationships, right? So, for you to really call her out on it, to be like, okay, so I want to lay out a little plan for you right now. So one of the things that, based on what we've talked about together, what I'm noticing is, there's usually about 5 different ways that women really block love and really kind of stand in the way of a relationship flowing 2 ways. And from what you're telling me, the thing that I think is breaking down the most for you is your ability to really speak your truth in relationships and really speak up and say what's true for you. So here's the thing, that's a much bigger conversation than we have time for right now, right? All those times in your life, sweetheart, that you swallowed your truth, that you might have been a little girl, all those times where it wasn't safe and it wasn't encouraged for you to actually like let the thing that's going on inside of you out. Much of the time you probably didn't even know what was going on inside of you. You know, I would love to see you really allot the time, the necessary time that it takes, like the months that it takes to unpack that. And months might sound like a lot, but what's cool is that in 2 or 3 months, you can have access to so much more of yourself when we go in and we do the trauma release work and we find out what's really happening in your own head and what's the block from saying it out loud. So I'd like to see you, wherever you end up doing that work, I'd like to really be a stand. I'm really committed to you doing that work because your truth is the most important thing in your world.
Now check this out. All those personal details that she was talking about when you were a little girl, right? Those could be and should be notes that she took when she was listening to her client talk about her struggle, right? Taking copious notes about the examples, how she worded that, so that she can feed it back to her as results, painting the picture and seeing that woman as a future client. If you worked with me, this is what we would do. You could have that.
Because this is not, the option step is not about you starting to sell. If you start to sell too soon, what's going to happen over there? Okay, the enrollment conversation is a dance. All right, if they're leaning out, you can't keep leaning in. If they're leaning out, it's actually better for you to get a little bit more distant and a little bit more curious and just a little more detached, right? It's an energetic dance. And when you go in and go, well, I have this program, and you do that prematurely, that's called premature offer-jaculation. And, you know, I role play this for you and we record this for you goddesses because I want you to hear what it sounds like to stand in commitment. In what, please? Commitment. Without any level of convincing. And when you can master this one thing, you become a masterful saleswoman. And I'll tell you what, there is one skill and one skill only that will set you free financially on this planet. And it's selling. Period. And I didn't want to learn it. But when I really got that if I did, I could be of more service and I could free myself, I was like, all right, bring it on. Give someone a high five and say, bring it on.
Bring it on. So moving through the option part to get them to a place where they're actually curious about you and the investment, right? So that you're not premature celly ejaculationing. You like to future pace them. When you're talking about the option and you're using language like, I see you being able to have this. If you and I work together, I could see that in this time you would have this. When you're creating language that is a possibility instead of, I think I could help you too, it changes the whole conversation, right? So one of the things we do when we have conversations with this, like this with you, when you're entering our program, we talk about it. We're like, when you join our program, you will be immediately surrounded by a tribe of women just like yourselves. When you're in that group, I can see you building your confidence in selling, losing that allergic feeling you have to selling yourself, and transforming the I'm selling my soul into I'm offering a gift. I can see you in the 3rd month of this program having the skills of our GROW model, which is a formula for selling that will set you financially free. I see you being able to use that so skillfully that you will add 1 client at a time. You could reach your goal that you shared with me of adding $5,000 to your income in the first year. And if you stuck with us, I could see that you could have about $10,000 added to your income by the 2nd year. Because what I see in you is a woman who's heard the call. She's done everything else. I see you trained with so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, and that's all good. But I see your readiness now to take full responsibility and launch your legacy. I'm curious. What did you like about what I shared with you? Second mic drop. Boom, boom. And then you lean back. Now, in this part of the conversation, if you're speaking to someone who has a lot of anxiety or a lot of pressure in their life, they might start spinning back into, I can't, remember, da 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 da, right? That's a part where they can spin. So you hold them as a mentor and bring them back gently. That mini plan I just laid out for you is the fruit of our one-on-one conversation. I'm just curious about that mini plan. How did that land with you? Right? Bring them back. Don't spin back out into, oh, I've got to listen more, I've got to push back my next client. No. They don't want you to do that. They spin all the time. That's why they're with you, for someone to anchor them a moment.
And that's where, when you get that real, how did that land? That's where they might come back and say, well, I'm not sure I'm ready to invest in anything. And you can go, awesome, no problem, I hear that. And this is not necessarily a conversation where you have to invest. This is a conversation to see if it's a fit to work together. And so we can give you a little bit more information, and then you can take a moment to make that decision, right? And I like to let people off the hook. You don't have to decide today. I'd love to hop back on the phone with you tomorrow, right? Let them take that deep breath, right? And sometimes they're already leaning in, and sometimes they're not. One of my little lean in-o-meters is, if they're leaning in, I talk a little bit more about what the program actually looks like during the options section. And if they're leaning out a little bit, I talk a little bit more about the transformation I'm committed to them making with less details about the program. And I ask, how would that land for you? I'm committed to you experiencing this, and this in your love life. What would that be like, right? And that opens them up to trying on the idea of me being their mentor. Kind of like at a department store, you want to be able to try on the dress to see if it fits, right? So that brings us to the wrap-up section. Are there questions? Did you have a question back here? You can hit the mic, and we can bring a microphone around too.
It was a note-taking thing, sort of.
And we can bring a microphone back here too, Tracy.
Okay, thank you. I'm Diane, and you said something about when you stand in your commitment without
Convincing.
without convincing.
Yes.
Okay, stand in your commitment.
Yes,
without-
write that down.
So
It's
when
about
you're
being
super
committed and not
confident,
convincing.
That's the confidence thing
Yes.
you're getting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and this is what's really cool, you guys. This is where your credibility and how much experience you've had really stops mattering. Because it's about commitment. Give her a kiss. Mwah. Yeah. Back here, there was a question back here. Right behind you. Tracy. There you go.
Hi, good morning, Inanna. I have a question. Can you give some examples about how would I know they're leaning in or leaning out?
Yeah, you can usually.
What is that?
Yeah, you can usually hear it in their voice. Are they asking questions? Are they being divulgent with you? Are they being open? Are they divulging information? Are they sharing vulnerably? And if they're being a little distant and closed off, then you want to start with commitment rather than sharing program details. Commitment to the outcome. Does that make sense? And we'll actually demo it. I think you'll get more with the demo.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more thing.
Yep.
Yeah? When you're on the phone, if they go quiet, right, it's hard to tell. They're not speaking. So what Sage was suggesting, ask, so I noticed you're not speaking right now. Is there something going on that you would share with me? Right? You just invite them in without filling in the gap. You don't know what's going on with them. Just get curious.
Yeah.
Is that helpful? You don't have a mic anymore.
And just to reframe to actually, to not explain, but to actually give them the benefits again, right? To turn it into them and not like why this is going to help you.
Yes.
But the
That's the
benefits.
mistake. Yes, that's the
they're
mistake I see entrepreneurs making in the beginning with these conversations is don't give the mic away until we're done with you. You look good with that mic, girl. The mistake I see a lot of entrepreneurs make is that if there's quietness, they assume that maybe it didn't land or they're nervous, so they want to fill up the space, so then they'll just go explain the program again. And what's really happening over there needs to be addressed. That's the intimacy that you want to maintain. It's the what, please? So you can just say, would you be willing to tell me what you're thinking right now?
Yeah.
So let's get into the demo, and then we're going to do
Yeah.
Q&A. Kiss for Nana. We're going to get into the demo, and write your question down, because we got to get into the demo, and then we're going to do Q&A. So the way the wrap-up looks is, the wrap-up is about confidently recommending your program. It's about what, please? Confidently recommending your program. And the place where this works the most is, again, when they're leaning in at least a little bit, all right? And you get to just say, I'm going to go ahead and recommend that you consider jumping in to my Soulmate Secrets program, right? So that we can really dive in and do the work together to get you to that place where you talked about you'd like to get, where you're confidently dating, you're feeling whole, you're not feeling so desperate for a partner that you feel like something's missing for your life and like you don't even know how to be yourself on a date because you're just so eager to know if this person's gonna marry you or not, right? And then describe the outcome of the program and stop talking. Do what, please? Stop talking. Right? And let them ask about the investment. And I always like to say, so I'm curious, what questions do you have about working together? And then I let them ask me. And as they ask me, I oftentimes love to describe the marketable program that way. Because now it's conversational. It's what, please? Conversational. And the $1 million question that doesn't happen to be on this slide is the question we've taught you in the past, where we like to ask, I'm curious, how are you hoping I might be able to help you with X, Y, or Z problem? Remember that question? Jot it down so that you have it. It's a great question that moves you into the wrap-up part of the conversation really beautifully. I'm curious, how are you hoping I might be able to help you with this whole dating debacle that you're in? How are you hoping I might be able to help you with this whole, with this incredible business vision that you have, right? And then, again, stop talking and let them be in conversation with you. There is tension in this conversation. Can you feel it? There is supposed to be. That's why we want you practicing. What, please? Okay, that's why we want you practicing, because there is tension in this conversation. It's not the most comfortable conversation when you're now recommending your program. It's going to feel tense. It's supposed to feel tense. Keep breathing and keep staying with them and keep just really staying present. Okay, very quick questions, and we got to get into the demo. There's one back here.
How are you hoping I might be able to help you? At what point are we asking that?
In between options and wrap up.
In between options.
A great question is, so I'm just curious, in between the options and the wrap up, a great question is, I'm curious, how are you hoping I might be able to help you with XYZ problem? I'll say that one more time so you can write it down. I'm curious, how are you hoping I might be able to help you with your dating debacle or with this opportunity to meet this incredible business vision that you have? How are you hoping I might be able to help you? And then guess what's so brilliant about that question? What are they going to say? The ways that you could help them, right? Because you just asked for it. And then you can confidently say, yes, that's exactly what I do. Or every once in a while, I get on the phone with somebody that goes, I have a software development product launch I need help with, and I want to make $1 million next month, and I'm like, I'm not your coach. Right? So you can right away then, within that 30-minute mark, find out, are they actually looking what you're selling or not? Looking for what you're selling or not? And if not, you can send them to another resource and go about your day and say, next, universe, send me somebody that actually is interested. Kiss, over here.
So I tend to, because I focus a lot in helping people with money, so a natural question for them always up front is, what is the investment? So I've tried, to take them gracefully away from that.
Yes.
But I would love your mentorship on that, because it's just one of those things I feel in my chest, and I take them away, and then it bubbles back up, and so that, of course, is a block for them.
Yeah.
And so
I wonder if we have the same answer to this one.
Go for it.
Should stay on the mic, love? Oh, do it all. Do it all.
Elizabeth, will you take notes for her? She's got ya. She's recording it.
I've got two things. So one of them is if someone is really coming at me with that, what I'll say first is this is a individualized session you and I are going to have, and I have multiple packages that I offer. So what I want to do is have a conversation about where you are so I know what to offer you, and then we'll get to the investment.
Maybe I just have aggressive people, because at that point they'd talk over me and be like, no, I really need to know how much this costs.
Great. So then I would follow up. So this is the second thing. Some people, like, right, their need to know is so great. If you don't answer that, they're not going to listen to anything else you say. So oftentimes I'll give them a range. Right, so I'm not so they don't have a fixed number in their head the entire time. Often I'll say, well, I have packages from 1,500 to 10,000.
That's about right.
I mean, if it's true, right? And then I'll see what they have to say. Do you want to add?
That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah, kiss. Mwah. And then make a note to yourself that this is, make an internal note. Like, this is somebody who is probably, they're running some control, right? And absolutely, I say be really straightforward.
Yeah.
Be really what, please? Yeah. I have packages that can range from this much to month to this much to month, and what I'd really love to do is talk to you more. Kira?
I was wondering, do you have an opinion one way or the other in terms of getting some information on the beforehand via questionnaire or something like that, so that you're coming into it kind of with some information before you're actually launching right into the conversation?
Awesome. So we have a potential client questionnaire in the forum that gives you a template for that, and we highly recommend that you get your clients to fill out less than 10 questions, less than 5 questions, somewhere in there, so that you have some things to start those conversations off. Because remember, every time you contact a potential client, whether it's an email, a questionnaire like Kira's asking about, a reminder that they have a discovery session, the follow-up, all of those are touch points in building a relationship with your client. So you want to have as many touch points up to, well, some people say that it's 7 touch points that people really need to invest. Other people are more fiery and they know like that. But you're building a relationship with these people, so the questionnaire is a great one. Kiss for Kira.
Let's go over here.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that sometimes you don't get to the W. I mean, maybe I'm trying to avoid it too, I know that. But, so I'm new at this. This is the first time, and I don't have a lot of programs. I mean, I'm gonna have private clients. So I don't have a lot of options to offer somebody. So if it's really clear that it's not going well, is it fine not to do the W? You just don't do it.
Great question. So first of all, I want to really empower all of you. Always keep the mic until we are done. I want to empower all of you to name what's happening in your sessions. What, please? Name what's happening in your sessions. Okay. If you've had 2 or 3 interactions where it just doesn't feel like they're opening up, it feels like there's a block, you have got to name it. That's on you. You're the mentor. That's the truth telling we're talking about. The most successful saleswomen on the planet are truth tellers. They're what, please? Okay. Here's the thing. We live in a whole world of people that are just being nice and friendly and pulling the wool over our eyes. You're here to wake people up. You're here to do what, please? So if you feel distance between you, if you feel there's a little bit of a disconnect, name it. You can just say, I'm just noticing that I'm making up I love this line, I'm making up a story. I'm making up a story that maybe there's something wrong, or maybe the dynamic is off, or maybe you're feeling like this isn't a generative conversation. I'm just noticing that maybe there's something a little off between us, and I'm just curious, and maybe I could be wrong. And am I wrong? I love that question. Am I wrong? Because then I take all of the sort of power and ego out of myself and I throw it out the window. I'm like, I could be totally wrong right now, right? I love just saying, and write this down. This is a great little sentence stem. I'm making up a story that blank could be wrong. Am I wrong? Right? And then you'll be amazed what comes out of their mouth. And I'll tell you what, it's the beginning of the conversation. That's where the conversation starts.
Yeah.
So good.
That's beautiful, because I sometimes don't know if it's me or them.
Exactly.
I want to ignore it because I think
Exactly.
it's just all me.
And that's what many of us
Yeah.
have been doing our whole lives.
Yeah.
Conflict avoidance. And it's why they're in a discovery session with you in the first place. So don't avoid the conflict, and it will feel scary. But it is the most, that's why I say these conversations are like spiritual boot camp. Because this is a place where someone's actually coming to you for advice. They're not your friends and they're not your family. Now they're coming to you for advice. You've got to be willing to give it. Cool?
And one last distinction, when you said you only have one program, right? You don't have a lot of options. You're not offering your program in the O. You're offering them one hot tip, something that they can do that's not your program. Awesome.
Kiss.
Great kiss. I mean,
Mwah.
you know.
All right. I really want to get into the demo, but if there's something burning, you're like, I just really need to know the question. Oh, this is the last one. Trace, can you bring the mic up here?
So in asking the question, how were you hoping I might be able to help you with?
Yes.
That happens between the options and the wrap-up.
Yes.
How is that different than them coming in and saying, these are my challenges, or me asking, what are your challenges? I'm not quite sure what the distinction is
Yeah.
between those two.
It's a way of wrapping up the conversation, right? So now they've told you their challenges. What's your niche again?
I work with women who have long-term grief, and
Yes.
so emotions that's gone underground.
Yes. So what I'm hearing you say is that it's been a year since he died, but you're still waking up feeling like you want to give up on life. And what I'm hearing you say is that you're noticing that you're just not yourself since you went through the loss, right? So I'm curious, right? If we could wave a magic wand right now, like in your ideal world, how would you love to have me support you through this transformation you're going through?
So that's a little different than how do you see yourself, or the goals at the beginning.
Yeah.
How do you see your life? What your challenges
That's
are?
right.
How are you
Because
hoping
now
I might be
you
able
know
to-
what they're going
Yeah.
through.
Okay.
And you're saying, how are you hoping I might be able, specifically me? This is a very intimate question. Now that we know each other a little bit, how are you hoping that I might be able to help you with, and then name their specific challenges?
Okay.
That's a great distinction. Was that helpful? Yeah, thank you
you.
so much for asking that. Okay, so we will have more time for Q&A after the break. And what I'm curious about is, would one of you be willing to come on up here and try on the Grow conversation?
Cheryl.
All right, give her a big round of applause.
She's a bright, shiny one. Did we want two people?
And Cheryl, come on up, get her the mic. And Cheryl, I'm wondering if you could remind everyone who your ideal clients are.
Question. That's a great question.
Right into the mic.
My ideal clients are people who are waking up or ready to listen to their intuition and to use that as a guide for their life in making healthy choices.
Great. So raise your hand if you would, in some world, be Cheryl's ideal client. You want to use your intuition better and you're waking up. Let's have Terry come on up. Give her a big round of applause. Okay. I'll trade sides with you. Oh. Hey, Jen, can we kill the slides? Yes. I love you. And I'm not at all being facetious when I say that. Okay, so we're going to completely trust you goddesses to have a conversation as if we were not in the room. So raise your hands up to these two incredible goddesses and repeat after me. Y'all are brave.
Y'all are brave.
You don't have to do this perfectly.
You don't have to do this perfectly.
Thanks for getting real.
Thanks for getting real.
Thanks for getting vulnerable.
Thanks for getting vulnerable.
And we are all ears.
Love, love, love,
Love, love, love, love,
love, love.
All right. And don't worry, we're here to help.
I don't even know how it
Consider
starts.
us angelic-like beings that might whisper something in your ear, and then you'll get to share it.
Can I see the template? I'm so excited that you're here. Truly. Because I think you're going to help me, like right here, right now. Possibly. Angels?
So you're going to share the mic, Cheryl. It's going to go back and forth.
I'm sorry. I just told her I thought that I was grateful because I thought she was going to help me right here, right now. Should I be a harder client?
You be whatever you want to be.
You will be. Just hold on.
Okay.
So, I have no idea what to
So
say.
take a breath. You're imagining that this is a potential client, and you are landing in your seat of mentor, and you're going to get curious and set the space and let her know what you're here to do in this next 30 minutes.
So, why do you think it is that I can help you? What is it that I have to offer?
Hold on. Stop. Pause.
Okay.
So you said on your intake form that you wanted to be able to use your intuition with more accurately, and I'm curious, what gets in the way of that?
So you said on your intake form that you are wanting to learn how to use your intuition and trust it, and I'm wondering what gets in the way of that.
My first thought is I was not in the world of, I was not in the environment growing up that talked about intuition. So in the past 9 months, I have been around amazing women who have shown me the power. And I want to know if I even have it, and if I have the ability to let it rise and then use it and trust it.
Thank you
So
for sharing that.
I'm going to recommend we start in the R,
Yeah.
because she's not even sure she has intuition, and that's real. So I would explore that with her. You know, what is that like? Yeah, I'm curious what's gone on that has you feel like you might not even have that, right? So go ahead and ask that.
So what's gone on in your life that makes you feel like you don't even have intuition and that you can't trust yourself in that?
Right into the microphone, goddesses.
So this is real. From probably, there's a certain point in your life from birth to whatever age you start to. I feel that I believe that there was a certain point in my life from birth to whenever you start letting, or whenever I start letting the world influence me, from the point that I began to notice other people and it wasn't all about me. I cry, I get fed. From that point to now, my world has been about everyone else. So I took on the weight of being the youngest of a blended family of 8, and I'm like the bottom foundation holding. And then I took on my own family. And then I've taken on everyone else, and I've never stopped. That's why that test was so difficult last night, because I don't know what I want. I've not ever been given permission to myself to tap into what I really feel or what I really want.
Give her some empathy. Tell her that must be really hard, that you understand.
I hear the pain in that, and I understand what that's like, to ignore your own inner needs and to put everything in the external above you and the suffering that comes as a result of that.
And to have all those other people that you think you need to take care of before yourself.
And what?
And to have all those other people that you think you need to take care of before yourself.
I still missed the first word. And the pain.
And then you have all those other people that you think.
And that you have all those other people that you feel like you have to take care of, that you have to be there for, that you have to support.
Okay,
And
pause. So do you see what just happened? Okay, so you did a wonderful job giving empathy. It was wonderful, but it wasn't in her words. And did you see that she was actually having a little bit of a hard time taking it in? And then I actually fed back the words, because what you said was, oh my God, there were all these people, these older siblings that I was taking care of. And those are your words. This is a tender, vulnerable thing that you're sharing with. And I thank you so much for trusting us. Thank you so much. And there is something that is undeniable when someone feeds back your words and says, I understand what this feels like in the words you gave it to me with. So please do not skip that step. And you're doing a beautiful job. And say that into the microphone.
It landed.
And you could feel it when it was in your words. Yeah. You guys are doing so good. Are you guys getting something out of this? Huge. This is so beautiful. Beautiful. So tell me more about what that was like.
tell me more about what that was like.
Did you hear what she just said? She said, and I'm here with you.
I'm here with you. You aren't alone in that.
Yeah. These conversations are healing conversations. Are you getting this? That's what they are. You're not performing right now. You're connecting with Cheryl. Just let her hold you.
More. How it felt or details?
What was it like to be last on your own list?
What is it like to be last on your own list?
You're doing so good. Keep breathing.
So if you're on the phone, this might happen, right? Something might be happening over here that you can't see. So as the guide, you're waiting and you're breathing, and then something's going to happen.
What it's like for me is to not know who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that.
I'm curious, have you ever been there? Have you ever felt like you're last on your own list?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing to tell her that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like a brief.
So now it's like going into the story piece.
Yeah, just give her like a little snippet story. We call it a snippet story. What do we call it? Yeah, it can't become all about you, but when there's a time where you can go, that's been true for me too, and here's one or two things about how that looked like. It's very powerful. Can you feel that? Yeah.
I don't even remember what you just said.
I don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
What was it like to be last on your list?
I understand what it's like to be last on the list. And as an intuitive, and feeling what everybody else's needs are in my own system, and thinking that because I could feel that, it was my job to fulfill that for everyone. And the illness that I suffered as a result of that, and the thousands of dollars that I've paid for that, I understand how to actually come out of it and honor myself and put myself first, and know that in doing that, I am
the better container, the vast container to show up for all those that I love in a way that's sustainable and empowering for them. And so it's a true gift to get to have the experience of coming out of not honoring yourself into blossoming into self-love and self-appreciation.
And let her know it takes time, and I'm here with you.
And in my journey, it takes time because we titrate. I found in my experience the titrating back and forth, and relationships begin to change. And
hold on, pause. So there's a story arc here. Can you feel it? Right? So you want to give some about yourself, but not too much. So there's a moment which we really need to turn it back over. So let her know it does take time, but I'm here with you.
It does take time, and I'm here with you.
Yeah. And then let's see if you can shift a little bit and say something like, if we were able to help you.
I want you to notice that when we use I language, instead of like, you know, when it happens, you come from conceptual to the intimate, that makes the conversation more personal, right? Less teaching, more like inner wisdom.
If I was able to help, if I had the opportunity to help you, what would you want out of?
If I were able to help you be more in touch with yourself.
If I was able to help you be more in touch with yourself, what is the one thing you would want out of that?
The bravery to speak my truth from a place that I know is solid within myself, and not feel responsible for the reaction. That's what I want.
I'd be curious, what's one place you're not speaking your truth?
I'm curious, what's one place you are not speaking your truth?
Did you hear that sound?
This is about guiding somebody through the layers. About what, please? It's actually about being the detective for the most tender spot and being willing to hold them there. I mean, and this is a level of mastery, right? Like, I've been doing this a decade, so don't freak out, right? But it's very, very, very powerful when you can be the person that says, no, there's tenderness. We don't need to gloss over that. What's actually going on? What does it actually look like in your life? That's what we want to know. We want to know, where is that tender challenge playing out the most?
In my world, at this time, where that is most apparent to me is in being able to speak my truth now to my husband is the most painful.
Do I get to talk or you?
No, you can, I mean, yeah, I'm going to let you go for a little bit.
I hear your pain in that, and the difficulty and the struggle in that. And
May I add one piece? What I need you to understand is I am not hearing leave. I am trying to find the voice that gives me the power to say, this is what I need now. Are you willing to accept that and then be able to not take on his response? Because I've never not done that.
So I hear that you're really wanting to be able to find your voice with your husband and not take on responsibility for his emotions or his reactions, and to hold strong and true in you. And to still have love. Okay, so I feel like I want to say,
Acknowledge our courage.
and I acknowledge your courage for showing up for you
Yeah.
and taking a stand
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Even though this feels really scary.
Yeah.
And like you're walking in new territory.
And then go ahead and say what you want to say.
Which would be what?
I thought you had something you wanted to say.
It left my brain.
So where intuitively would you take the conversation? If you had the grow vaguely in your head?
The grow is not in my head right now.
Which stage of grow would you say we're about to go into? I think we're about to go into the O. Yep.
What does that stand?
So, if I could help you. Yeah.
So if I could help you claim your voice and trust your voice and not take on other people's emotions and your husband's emotions and his feeling when you stand in your power.
Is that something you'd be interested in?
Is that something you would be interested in?
Yes.
So, pause. So we went right in because of how much lean in there was, right? And if there hadn't been that much lean in, then it might have been really appropriate to say something like, I'm so committed to you finding that voice inside of you. And, if there were opportunities for either us to do that work together or for you to do that work together somewhere else, are you actually committed to doing that work? Is that something that is a priority in your life right now? And that would be a great question. Is that something that's a priority in your life right now?
Is that something that's a priority in your life right now?
It's become that way. This weekend has helped it to be.
Can you think of a question that would help her get in touch with the cost of not doing anything?
That's tricky because she's been, okay.
Take a risk.
What would be the cost of not going forward with honoring your voice and showing up for you and continuing to take on the responsibility for how others feel and react?
I already know the cost. And it's several things, but the cost of me not choosing this at this point in my life would mean not living. So do you help people like me?
Yes. You are my divine right client. Truly. And it would be my honor if I got to support you and witness you showing up with you, as you, and for you, and honoring the expression of the beautiful being that you are in this life. Because we need you here.
So I have a question. I'm a lot to hold. So, So what would it look like to work with you and have you support me?
When you say you're a lot to hold, can you explain that to me and what that means to you? So that I know if we are a fit and a match, and if I can hold you in that. Because I'm guessing I can be able to hold you, but tell me more.
Somebody write that down for her.
The reason I wanted to ask that question is because I had an incredible interaction with a woman recently who spent some time with me, and we shared stories. And I think one of the parting things that I remember her saying, paraphrasing, is that, "Oh my honey, you have a lot more to unpack." Because it was just, it's like one thing led to another, led to another, and led to another, and until I really speak it, I poo-poo it.
It sounds like she might have made up some stories about herself in that interaction, and you have a structure that actually helps people keep moving through.
It sounds like you made up a story from that interaction. That you're a lot to unpack. And that I actually have a structure to help you move through that with comfortability and ease. So that everything you meet feels doable.
Can we all take a breath here? What do you see in them? I heard strength and honesty and real communication. I heard magic. I heard connection. If you were to take this conversation into the future, because we do need to go to break in a few minutes, but if you were to take this conversation into the future, do you see a possibility of an amazing match? Yes. Okay. And do you, can you see how the next phase of the conversation would really be to recommend the program? You want to go ahead and make that recommendation? Just take a risk and make it up. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just really want to be me.
Yeah.
I want you to be you. So what are you worth?
Yeah, in whatever way you do it, but we do need to get to that part of that conversation. Right. Yeah.
I'm just waiting for you to tell me what to say. It's like so much easier.
I would love to be able to work with you, and I can hold you, and I trust that, and I trust your willingness and readiness to receive that support of being held and meeting yourself. I would recommend a package that I have that I'm creating and building right now in this moment.
Pause.
I wouldn't actually say that.
There's some information that can remain out of the conversation. Cool. So, what's the name of your program?
Awakening the Divine Feminine.
Ooh, did you see her face just light up? All right. We're going to go ahead and pause the conversation here. I really want to hear, how was that for you? Tell us into the microphone.
That title landed so well. So well. It's like, that's what I want. You're feeling, I mean, that takes me to the transformation.
Take that in, Cheryl.
And how is that for you?
Weird. That title just came to me, and you are my niche that I wasn't accepting. So
it would just be my honor to get to help you honor and love you and make you number one.
I'm in.
Because without
It's
you,
like-
we don't have anything else.
It's like our own little economy, isn't it? So Cheryl, I want to reflect, thank you so much for letting me coach you. I know that was awkward. And I want to say, even though I was feeding you some words for the purpose of learning,
Yeah.
your presence was still what did that. I really want you to get that. Your presence was what did it. And having some of the skills to especially feed it back in her words, we could feel the difference. And then to stay on the spot, to stay on the vulnerable spot. And then to listen, and then to get specific. You cannot keep it in the conceptual. Can you feel that? We couldn't, there was a risk of her staying in, well, I'm not speaking my truth, and I'm, depriving myself. And it's like, yeah, where? Where in your life are you doing that? And as soon as we got on the husband thing, now she has a reason to invest. Because there's a cost of not getting this thing sorted out with her marriage, right? So always take it out of the conceptual and into the specific. Write that down. Into the specific. Into the what, please?
And we recommend you have the Grow model next to you because it's going to be awkward as you first do this when you're on a call or if you're with a person, right, Cheryl?
Right?
That you have these notes.
You were amazing. Can we give him one more round of applause?
Cheryl, I just want to acknowledge you for taking the model from Sage into your brain, and then you would do this thing where you'd be like, and then you'd add something onto it, right? And that's what we're going to recommend for all of you. You use the template and you make it your own, but the template is your guide, and you're bringing it into your body to meet your client, and that's what you're doing. And as you do that more and more, it'll become more embodied. And that is really what draws people to you.
We are going to let you take this conversation into the break. Give them one more kiss. Mwah. And goddesses, I want to hear from two people. What did you get out of watching that? One sentence.
Just the power in, I can't remember her name.
Cheryl. And
being
Terry.
able to hold Terry in that container.
Yes.
And that it really wasn't about the words,
Yes.
although they're important. It
Yes.
was about the connection. So right before that, all that kept going through my head was
Yes.
that the connection is the currency.
Yes.
And not just financially. but
Yes.
Yeah.
from
Did
a
you see when she
spiritual-
reached out and held hands with
Yeah,
her?
like
Like
that.
there was a moment they were just like, up,
Yes.
boom.
And to hold that is hard because we're fixers, right? So
Yes.
But she did a really, it's so to model just how important it is to just hold that and be way more powerful than anything.
Beautiful
that we
job.
say.
Give her a kiss.
Thank you.
Yes, the words are not important, and when you can feedback clients' words, they will go deeper. Because if we hadn't rectified that in the beginning and gotten some of her words fed back to her, that conversation could have gone a little bit of a different way. Can you feel that? Because she started to open up, and then Cheryl had her own vocabulary for what was happening over there, and not all of those words were familiar. Because Cheryl, you have an amazing vocabulary, and I really want to point that out. Some of you have a vocabulary of words like alignment and, dynamic, balance, and all of these words that people might not totally resonate with, so please do not forget that step. It's a huge selling technique. Let's go back here.
Last question.
Okay, so I just want to acknowledge Cheryl in a huge way.
Huge.
Because
Cheryl, you getting these acknowledgments?
yeah, Cheryl, listen up over here.
Good, thank you for pausing.
Cheryl sat down when she first came in here to ELA, and I was sitting next to her, and one of the first questions that she asked me was what was my intention in coming here, and I told her and then asked her what her intention was, and she didn't know. And so it was just to see what she has accomplished up here on stage today, and to see that not only do you know that you have this beautiful title and it just came to you, and you did so beautifully in that conversation. It was so natural to you, and you just did an amazing job, and I'm just so proud of you and happy to have witnessed your first moment here at ELA and to see you come to
Kisses
that.
for
So
both of you.
Congratulations.
And then I just want to add to that, you don't have to know everything, right? Leaning into the mystery takes an incredible amount of bravery and courage, right? To sit in our own, to sit with another, to lean in.
Yeah.
So precisely not knowing is not the end game.
Yeah, exactly. You feel like you're going to be better at Grow? Yes.